Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the July 21st meeting of the Arcata City Council. Before we start, we had a closed session meeting and we have nothing to report out this evening. In-person meetings. If you're viewing this meeting, yes, this is our first in-person meeting. And if you're viewing this meeting remotely and you wish to make public comment during the meeting, either at the two open public comment periods or for an individual agenda item, please call 707-825-2040 now. Leave a clear message with your name, phone number, and the agenda item you'd like to comment on. City staff will then call you back live from the meeting when the council was receiving public comment on that item. Messages that come in after 6:15 are not guaranteed to be received, so please call immediately to leave a message. Again, that number is 707-825-2040. And if you would care to, please join us for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, may we please have a roll call? Here.
Vice Mayor Atkins-Salazar.
Here.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Here.
Councilmember Goldstein. Here. All present.
Next we have ceremonial matters. We have a proclamation in support of Humboldt Lemonade Day, August 14th, 2021. Whereas Lemonade Day Humboldt is a free, community-wide educational event that helps empower today's youth to become tomorrow's entrepreneurs. And whereas Lemonade Day has provided the online app Lemonade Day My Way and Lemonade Day workshops to infuse today's youth with the basic business and entrepreneurial skills needed to become successful, contributing members of their community. And whereas local youth are being offered an opportunity for additional support with a dedicated mentor through a partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters of the North Coast, providing a caring adult to help children reach their full entrepreneurial potential. And whereas young people who develop entrepreneurial skills are also developing life skills that give them a strong sense of control in their lives that says, I have an influence over my own life and I can affect the person I become. And whereas Lemonade Day's core philosophy of spend, save, and share teaches children how to manage their money by establishing a budget, paying their expenses, saving part of their profits, and giving back to the community. And whereas the lessons instilled through Lemonade Day's curriculum, such as budgeting time and money, food, health, and safety, and being a supportive community member are crucial in uncertain times like today. And whereas small businesses started by our community's innovative entrepreneurs have created the economic backbone of our local economy. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Arcata declares Saturday, August 14th, 2021, Humboldt Lemonade Day in Arcata and urges the community to buy lemonade from our local kids' stands to support the next generation of entrepreneurs. The Council salutes the Humboldt Lemonade Day presenters, the Arcata Economic Development Corporation, Big Brothers Big Sisters of the North Coast, event sponsors, volunteers, and participants, and also commits to continue investment in the future of our youth. Dated today, July 21st, 2021, signed by myself. And do we have anyone accepting? Yeah, would you like to make comments? Great.
if you're available on August 14th, that you guys would be interested in being VIPs and visiting the stands. So you are all invited, and I will follow up with you individually and let you know. Brett, did you do it before? I'm sorry, Mayor Watson, have you done it before? It's very fun. You get in a car, you all drive, you get to give them certificates, and you ask them about their business, and you learn that they are very, very sophisticated. It's pretty darn cool. So thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you, Mayor Seaman. Next, we have report by commission or committee, the annual report from the Forest Management Committee. Could you please just go to the microphone so the public can hear you? Thank you very much.
I'm Dennis Halligan. I'm the chairman of the Forest Management Committee, and I'm here to give the annual report. And to start off with, I know that there are some new members on the City Council, and so thought we'd give a brief rundown of actually the background and what the city forests are actually all about. And also with the Forest Management Committee, we advise the City Council and the City Commissioners on topics of forestry, ecology, wildlife on the city-owned forest lands. In addition, we make recommendations to the City Council on amendments to the city's forest management plan. Committee members also review the annual timber harvesting plans before they're filed with the California Department of Forestry, and we conduct a post-harvest, pre-harvest, and post-harvest field reviews prior to and after operations. And the following information is a summary of what the Forest Management Committee has done in fiscal year 2020 and 2021. We basically conduct our meetings every other month, except during COVID, things sort of got a little shaky there, and we missed a few meetings. But we conduct public field trips. Sometimes we have evening meetings, and many of the goals, in spite of COVID, have been accomplished during the past year. Basically, the city, with guidance from the Forest Management Committee, manages the Arcata Community Forest, the Sunny Brae Forest, and the Jacoby Creek Forest for the long-term goals of promoting late seral forest ecosystem for wildlife and ecological benefits, as well as providing trails, access to natural resources, various other watershed products such as clean water. We also manage for timber using a restoration forestry approach. We do watershed restoration, wildlife habitat, carbon sequestration, and basically the combined Arcata Community Forest, Jacoby Creek Forest, and Sunny Brae Forest is about 2,449 acres. So timber harvests on the city forest lands are developed to improve the forest health and ecological functioning of the forest lands, as well as provide revenue for the city for park maintenance, forest management, road and trail upgrades, and new recreational opportunities. And about 25% of the community forest is in reserves, such as streamside buffers and other sensitive habitats. And the maximum annual timber harvest, the maximum is 1/2 of the forest growth. However, we typically harvest much less. For example, the 3 forest tracts that we have an annual growth of about 2.4 million board feet, whereas our last timber harvest was roughly 370,000 board feet. So we're looking at about 15% of growth was our harvest. And out of that, for last year, we harvested 366,000 board feet, and I believe that netted the city about $170,000, $180,000. We received $15,000 in donations for the placement of 7 commemorative benches, and we delivered 17,800 metric tons of forest carbon to various buyers, and we continue to provide carbon offsets available for purchase by individuals and businesses. And just, a pro tip here, for Christmas shopping, that's the hot tip. I buy 20 tons a year, and I send them out in Christmas cards, little piece of paper that says, not 20 tons. I'm done. And so, I think it's a good thing, people travel during the Christmas and Hanukkah periods and holiday periods, and that's a good way to offset any of that travel fuel carbon loading by your entire extended family. There you go. So the city acquired the 114-acre Swener property up there in the Jacoby Creek tract, and the committee also provided expertise on the updated non-industrial timber management plan amendment and forest management plan. We completed the review of the forest management plan update, and it showed adding all new parcels to the acreage. We provided input to the open space parks and trails special tax, Measure A, that was approved on the November 2020 ballot. So that's going to hopefully generate about $173,000 for the city for parks, trails, and open space projects. We provided input on a Green Diamond timber harvest plan that was adjacent to some of the Jacoby Creek properties that the city has. Staff continues to monitor spotted owls and found Pacific fishers now on all 3 of the forest tracts, which is pretty cool. Also been monitoring the barred owls. And Michael McDowell, he's the guy doing all of that. Staff's conducted field research and records research and field research for archaeology on the new Swener parcel, and also rare plant surveys. Over 18 miles of roads and trails continue to be maintained at a high standard, and 1 mile was repaired by PG&E following some of the work they did on a transmission line through the city forest. The city staff has been working on the jump and peanut butter trails on the Forsyth parcel. That's right behind HSU and the Redwood Sciences Lab. And that's the city is ensuring that the work is done to the city standards. And also been working in association with the Redwood Coast Mountain Bike Association and Humboldt High School Composite Mountain Bike Team, which is actually, they do really good at the state and national levels. They're a bunch of high school kids on mountain bikes, and they're tearing it up. So they're great to work with, and they provide a valuable resource on trail days, and also they're working with us and on education on proper mountain bike etiquette, especially when we have multiple use trails out there with horses, strollers, walkers and everything like that. The city completed recreational trail reroute on the Samuel Conservation Easement portion of the Ridge Trail to provide a single track alternative to a steep multi-use section of the Ridge Trail. And there are several community work days involving hundreds of volunteer hours. In 2021, the committee is going to conduct a field trip to this new harvest for this year, continue to be involved in the non-industrial timber management plan amendments, continue involvement with the Ridge Trail and the Ficker Hill Crossing, and coordinate with other city committees like Wetlands and Creeks and Open Space and Parks. Strengthen our partnership with HSU, especially in light of the large acquisition up in Jacoby Creek. Continue working relationships and strengthen relationship with the Wiyot tribe, and obtain approval for a long-term spotted owl management plan with the state and CAL FIRE. Update the carbon inventories on Sunny Brae Forest. Seek cost share funding from CAL FIRE for habitat, road and timber stand improvement work, and continued collaboration with adjacent landowners on cooperative road use agreements and road improvements for the city forest lands. So that's a mouthful. Lots being done out there, and I have to give credit to the city staff. They worked their tails off, and it's an incredible resource out there unlike anything else anywhere. And the city's forest and management plan is a model worldwide. We've had people from China, Belize, you name it, come visit and wanting to set up, a similar model for their communities, such as being done up in McKinleyville and being done on the McKay track down in Eureka. So anyway, keep up the good work. Thanks.
Do we have any questions or comments from the council? No. I was wondering, so we have a limit on how many acres we can hold, right? 2,500. Okay, and right now we're 2,449? Yep. So is there, I know the previous director, I know he was kind of kept an eye on and was kind of working on was being able to expand how many acres we could hold. And I was wondering if there's anything going on with that.
Yeah, there's been a push for years to try to increase the acreages on those, and it's still pushing. So whether or not that happens, it just depends upon what they say at the Board of Forestry and in Sacramento. And so It'd be nice because we're going to continue acquiring forest land, and it would be nice to be able to amend it into our non-industrial timber management plan. However, we'll have to see if that'll be possible in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next we have early oral communications. This 15-minute time period is provided for people to address the council on matters not on the agenda. At the conclusion of all oral communications, the council may respond to statements. Any request that requires council action will be set by the council for a future agenda or referred to staff. Speakers addressing the council at this time may be limited to 2 minutes. All other oral and written communications will be heard at this meeting under agenda item 11. Do we have any members of the public that would like to make comment on items not on tonight's agenda? Come on up.
My name's Rob Hepburn. I'm a member of Chapter 56 of Veterans for Peace, and I have been the volunteer gardener for the Veterans Park right here on A Street between F and G for the past 18 years. And about 2 months ago, there was major damage done to the park. Whole plants ripped out, bushes that I planted a long time ago, destroyed. And I talked to some of the local homeless. I know a lot of the local homeless people, some of them who helped me out of the park picking up garbage. And they say, there's a lot of people on methamphetamines who are terrorizing the local population of homeless people and taking out their rage, their methamphetamine rage on the park, the plants in the park. Since then, there's been other episodes. Just recently, just a couple of days ago, of more branches pulled off trees. And there's a methamphetamine crisis in Arcata. I would like the city council to acknowledge it. I know it's not just the park. It's not just the people that I talk to among the local homeless population who are scared, who are hiding from their usual sleeping places because they might get beat up by what they call tweakers. Also, one of my roommates is the manager of a big store in Valley West. She says, sir, shopping, what do you call it? Shoplifting has increased dramatically, especially in the past 6 months, plus incidents of violence and lots of property damage.
Thank you.
Okay, and I would hope, could you at least acknowledge that there's a major problem and try to do something about it?
Thank you very much. Do you have any other members of the public that would like to make a comment that's not on tonight's agenda? How's it going, Oz?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Oz of Plaza Point, Arcata. But tonight, the point is policy. But before I address the policy, I'd like to thank the staff of the City of Arcata for getting us through one hellacious period that none of us have lived through. A job well done, and we're all still here, not just surviving, but attempting to have dreams of thriving. Tonight, the policy. It's an old policy, and one of my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, asked me, "Grandpa, where do police come from?" I thought about the answer a minute, and I said, well, it comes through a process. It starts with the Constitution. And in the beginning, in the Constitution, there was a convention when all the people, the states, the Southern gentlemen from Georgia came. They offered a Second Amendment to that Constitution, the right to bear arms, the right to own and bear arms, and have a well-regulated militia. And from that day forward, America was stuck on a policing path of 33 1/3. It's old vinyl now, it's scratchy, but I haven't looked at the budget for Arcata, but I will guarantee you I know the policy. 33 1/3. Every township in the country, every county, 33 1/3% of that budget is spent to public safety. Good money thrown after bad. Those public safety dollars went to slave patrols because some of those folk got uppity, walked away and had revolts from time to time. That's where public safety comes from. We need to be honest and understand our history and realize a policy change needs to happen. When old Joe comes and says, as I went to homeless court, had 39 camping tickets and 21 dog tickets, and the judge told me community service. And I say, did they pay you $17.50 an hour? If not, they're just the slave patrols. Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was.
Thank you, Oz. All right, do we have any other members of the public?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Because I have a hard time hearing some of you, so I would love to hear you. And this is Joanne McGarry. You can call me McGreta. This is the Earth flag I will bring with me to all the city council meetings I can attend. I just am here to say that I'll be coming and talking a lot more about some other issues, but the one first and foremost issue I want to remind you all of is that the City of Arcata back in September of 2019 declared a climate emergency resolution. And I really, really, really think that we need to remind ourselves vocally, with maybe an allegiance to the planet in addition to a flag, at the beginning of every meeting, and to look at everything that we're talking about in a climate emergency reality. And I just am so glad to have this in-person opportunity, and I'm so glad that you can hear me on this microphone, and I hope to hear you, and it's great to see you, and I'm sticking around for the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public?
I just wanted to share some positive and exciting news about Valley West. We are adopting a park out there. It's Comunidad Unida del Norte Arcata, CUNA, which is Community United North Arcata. I'd like to invite everybody for our celebration kickoff event on Sunday from 12 to 6. We have food, live music, and fun for the whole family, so we hope to see you there.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to comment on an item not on tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. All matters in the consent calendar are considered to be routine by the City Council and are enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of any of these items. If discussion is required, that item is removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. At the end of the reading of the consent calendar, council members or members of the public can request that an item be removed for separate discussion. A, approve the minutes of the City Council meeting of June 24, 2021. B, approve the minutes of the City Council meeting of July 7, 2021. C, biweekly report on general warrants. D, award a contract for the 2021 timber harvest, logging and log hauling to Ford Logging Incorporated, DBA Pacific Earthscape, in the amount of $355 dollars per thousand board feet for logging, $61 per thousand board feet for trucking to Arcata, California, and $76 per thousand board feet for trucking to Samoa. And authorize the city manager to execute all applicable documents. E, adopt resolution number 212-03, approving a grant application to California Wildlife Conservation Board for Valley West Carlson Park Improvement and Mad River Access Project. F, approve the purchase of one Geo-4 three-wheeled parking vehicle, $36,412.33, and one VACCON V350HN 850 Vector truck, $488,656.53, and award purchase contracts to municipal maintenance equipment for a combined total of $525,068.86, including tax and freight. Approve the purchase of one E50 R2 Series Bobcat mini excavator, and award purchase contract to Clark Equipment Company, DBA Bobcat Company, for a total of $73,878.61, including tax and freight, and authorize the city manager to execute all applicable documents. G, authorize the city manager to enter into real property and public access easement negotiations for a portion of assessor's parcel number 507-131-091 adjacent to Carlson Park. And H, approve agreement with Police Executive Research Forum for integrated communications, assessment and tactics, de-escalation training in the amount of $36,769, and authorize the city manager to execute all applicable agreements and documents. Do we have any members of the city council that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar? Do we have any members of the public that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar? All right. May we please have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 And we have no old business tonight. Moving on to new business. Our first item of new business is appoint one new member to the Energy Committee for a term expiring September 30th, 2024. Do we have any comments, questions from the council? Can also entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to appoint Michael Winkler to the Energy Committee, term ending in September 30th, 2024.
I'll second.
All right. Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we have new business item B, presentation by Cassandra Robert Hesseltine, Film Commissioner, Humboldt Del Norte Film Commission, regarding its 10-year anniversary in fiscal year 2020-2021.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks, Karen. All right, let's see. It always gets nutty. Hi, I'm Cassandra Hesseltine, Film Commissioner for Humboldt and Del Norte counties. It's been a couple of years since I've been here in person. I thought it was a good time since we have so many new wonderful members, council members. And we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. So some of this is about the past 10 years and then the past fiscal year that we just had. See, I've already forgotten. Down towards me? There we go. So what does the Film Commission do? So for those who are new to it, maybe don't realize what we do, we are the liaison between filmmakers and the counties we represent. There's hundreds of film commissioners around the world. Most of them are state or country, but California is unique in the sense that we have over 50 film commissioners throughout the state because of obviously our position being near Hollywood. We market the area for filming. We assist productions when they are here in all kinds of ways: scouting, permits, vendors, crew, assisting locals, maybe if a home is being used, and what things to look for when they're talking to production, as well as then we promote film tourism, which sometimes can bring in more money than the actual filming that happens. And we are required to do this at no charge. That is, around the world, all film commissioners are free of charge to productions, and we are funded by people like you, so thank you for the funding. So the past 10 years, what we have done is brought in an estimated $11.1 million in production. That is the money that they spend on actual filming. So that includes their locations, their hotels, their local hire, all of that kind of thing. And then when you add the multiplier, because they don't usually have dinner, they have a day or two off, the money going through the economy, 3 times circulating before it leaves the economy here. And again, these are outside dollars coming in. So before it leaves, it really feels more like 32.7 million after it's all said and done. And Humboldt County is 9.1 million direct dollars of that 11, and then the estimate with the multiplier is more like 26.9. So return on investment, sometimes people want to kind of know what was the past 10 years like. And we are grateful because you've been one of our 2 funders that actually has been consistent with us. The county as well as City of Arcata has actually been our only 2 funders for the past 11 years that's been consistent. So thank you for that. We did start off back in 2010 at 64,000 is what we were running our office off of. And when we were at our best before COVID, we were at 235. We since then have lowered. We had 180 this last fiscal year that we were operating off of. The current fiscal year, it looks like will be about 25,000 less than normal as well. So for the total for the past 10 years, we've run off of 1.4 million is what we have operated off of. And again, the return on investment has been the 11 million coming in directly and the 32 million indirect. Some of our accomplishments, I won't read them all. It's 2 pages of slides, but besides helping productions, these are the other things that we have done, becoming a nonprofit. We held our first FAM tour, familiarity tour, bringing in 9 location managers about 8 years ago, and we will be doing our second one, thanks to Headwaters Fund Grant, coming up here shortly, so we're pretty excited about that. I was able to be treasurer for FLIX, which is the film liaisons in California statewide. It's all the film commissioners in the state of California. And then I was the longest standing president at 3.5 years, and now I'm the immediate past president. During COVID, I found the time to become a certified international film commissioner. And we were also, right before COVID, one of 5 finalists for Outstanding Film Commission, basically in the world. So it was pretty exciting for that. I was also just a couple weeks ago on a panel for the Emmys to help television producers and directors on filming outside of LA, but throughout California. And I was the moderator and actually the only one representing outside of LA. That video should be on Emmy.com sooner than later. So during COVID, we had a little bit of a fun time trying to do productions and not bring, obviously, COVID into the area. And we did a really excellent job. We didn't have one case come from outside. Everybody was monitored 1 to 2 tests. When they got here, they immediately had another test. We had a feature film that brought their own lab. So we were really excited that we didn't have anything brought from the outside in. And everybody was required to go through my office regardless if it was a state, federal, county, city, it didn't matter what kind of permit it was. Due to public health, everybody had to come through my office to find out what our regional expectations were. So that was a task for us to stay on top of that. We have just in the past month changed that with public health's permission, and they still are running off the state guidelines of proper filming, which still is a lot of equipment and testing going on. So they're still being very well behaved, but we have lowered our guidelines a little bit here. So the current past fiscal year that we just had, you can see what Del Norte has brought in, what Humboldt County has brought in, and the regional impact as well as the economic impact after you add the multiplier for the area. And Humboldt County, obviously, being the most important for you guys, bringing in 2.3 million. 2.1 million of that was the movie Sky is Everywhere that should be coming out on Apple in the next 6 to 9 months. And they shot the entire feature film here. And this just kind of shows you, they filmed throughout Humboldt County, so they were everywhere, and you'll see in a second a slide specific to Arcata. But this kind of shows you when a project does come here, the kind of impact that they make. So you could see that lodging, they spent $750,000. Local vendors, $425,000. You could see local crew, $190,000. Location fees was $230,000. I can't even read some of it myself. $120,000 on local background. We had over 500 background people, local hires that were background in the movie, and it was pretty amazing how they were able to test them beforehand, keep them safe on set, and then test them as they were leaving and making sure that everybody was okay. So in Arcata, what does that mean for Arcata? Because, with filming, sometimes we don't get a lot of filming actually in Arcata, but what you guys do is you get a lot of stays. So for instance, for that movie, they add the nights up with each person. So it looks like 2,486 nights in that time that they were there from September through November. So out of the almost $500,000 budget of accommodations, they had $277,000 in that time frame in that shoulder season that stayed here. Which, if you do the TOT, the 10%, you got $27,000 right there in taxes that come to Arcata. Oops, I pushed too fast. And actually, let me say one more thing too. So just as a reminder, when Wrinkle in Time was here back in 2016, they came in November, end of November through the beginning of December. And in their 5 days, they also stayed at the Hampton Inn and spent $235,000 as well during that time. And that was winter. So it's always amazing when they come during that time and spend a little bit of money. One of the other things we did while we were on hiatus is we created a new website where we merged Humboldt and Del Norte together. Gave it a new look, made it a little friendlier for location managers when they're trying to find crew or locations. And it helps us to actually have both counties on the same site. It's a little bit easier to navigate than what we had before, so we're pretty excited about that. This is the really, really exciting one. And actually, as of, I believe it was yesterday, you could go on the store, on Apple Store, and you could go find it. And it's called Map of the Movies, and you'll see it's been showing up like second in the search, and it says Humboldt Del Norte. And this shows you, basically, it's our map of the movies that we've been printing the brochure on, or you can download on our website, or is on Google Maps, which all of that has a combined over 200,000 views, basically, is what we've had downloads, printed maps, and then the Google Map views. This is now an app as of yesterday. I believe in a couple weeks we will have the Droid version will be out, but the Apple version is out now. And the first layer, when you open it up, will show you feature films and where they filmed in the area. And then you can hit a little icon and it will show you hotels that are near there, and then it'll show you restaurants that are near there. So it's really encouraging tourism. You want to go see Star Wars, you want to know where it was filmed, but you want to stay near that, maybe eat at a restaurant near there. It has all of that to do that for you. Takes you to YouTube, IMDb, how to get there, tells you a little bit about it filming in the area and where the marker is, so you can go take your little picture with it. And eventually we will have the ability to upload the photos as well as some voiceover work and some other aspects that we're going to be adding later. But we're really excited about this, and I believe what we've been told, it is the first film app in the state of California. Hollywood doesn't even have one out like this, and it is the first tourism app in Humboldt County. So we're pretty excited about that. One of the other things we did while we were trying to figure out what to do during COVID was we came up with a series called Meet the Expert, and about half these people actually live here. It's pretty amazing. We have everybody from Stevie Nelson, who is a location manager. She does TV shows like House, to a couple of the set decorator and prop master who were on SNL for 20 years, and now they live here. They moved here a year ago, so Saturday Night Live. But we also have a whole bunch of experts that don't live in the area, that they were gracious enough to take a tiny stipend and do an interview with us. And we put them up on our website as well as our YouTube channel. And we shared them with our Humboldt County Office of Education so that it can be sent out to the high schools, the colleges, and anybody who's interested in maybe breaking into the industry. It specifically talks about how to do that type of job and then how to do that here. So it's really great as far as job creation. And this is all done by a staff of 2. We are a nonprofit, so we have board members, interns, advisors, and community partnerships. And so we really appreciate the funding that you do give us. It helps us be able to do the work that we're doing. As I mentioned, we are a little bit short funded this year, but we're hoping that we'll be able to remedy that over time. That's my presentation.
Great, thank you. Do you have any? Do we have any questions or comments from the
I
council?
don't know what I did. Touched a button.
I just wanted to say that I did go to the Apple Store and I downloaded the map of the movies and I checked it out, and it's pretty cool. So I think it will definitely help with tourism. So good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's gonna be the first thing I do when I get home now. No, but thank you for presenting to us. I mean, it's always so interesting to, see what's coming through and hear about the different films, and I'm excited to check out all the new things you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go check that out. Thank you so much for your presentation. The information was really great, so thanks.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions, members of the public? All right. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, next we have item C, consider a request from Decriminalize Nature Humboldt to adopt a resolution to decriminalize ethogens. Do we have a representative who would like to give a presentation? Hi.
There's a lot of people here today. Thank you all for your presence. And I'm going to put this water down. Thank you, Arcata City Council, for hearing this very important issue to decriminalize nature here in Arcata. And thank you, Council Member Schaefer, for having the courageous leadership and sponsoring this resolution. And I wanted to thank Police Chief Brian Ahern for being open to discussing this resolution with us, and also for offering his suggestions. And we look forward to working with the City Council and the Police Chief in ensuring that Arcata residents can heal from entheogenic experiences without having to worry about prosecution or arrest. Before getting into the resolution, I am going to tell you a little bit of why I am passionate about decriminalization. I was severely depressed my entire life, from childhood into adulthood. And when I was a little girl, I wished to God that I had never been born. When I was a teenager and in my early 20s, I took harmful substances and I invited very unkind people into my life. And I didn't see a way out of the depression. And I had the opportunity to travel to Brazil, and I drank ayahuasca, which contains DMT. And during that experience, I, for the first time, saw myself, saw who I was, and I loved myself. And with that love, the depression went away, and the need for addiction went away. And it's been 8 years, and I'm happy and healthy. And I want that same opportunity for others who are in pain. In the city of Arcata and in Humboldt County, there's very high rates of addiction to harmful substances such as heroin, methamphetamine, alcohol. I was a CASA volunteer for 7 years, and I saw in our county child abuse and neglect is at very high rates. And much of that is because of their parents being addicted to harmful substances. And much of why people are addicted to harmful substances is because of childhood trauma themselves. It's a cycle. And these entheogens are able to break that cycle. They're able to heal the childhood trauma and break that cycle of addiction. And I'm not saying that decriminalizing is going to solve all the problems. It's not. But it is the first step in the right direction to get people the help they so desperately need. And also with COVID, this pandemic, depression and anxiety have been at very high rates, and many people in our community do not rely on pharmaceuticals, and they want natural alternatives. And entheogens provide a natural alternative that has been proved by science to decrease depression and anxiety. So there was no scientific reason for Nixon to decriminalize these substances in the Controlled Substance Act. I'm going to say a quote from John Ehrlichman, who was a former Nixon domestic policy chief. He stated, "The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities," Ehrlichman said. "We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did." To be clear, this resolution seeks to decriminalize national plants and fungi, which are relatively safe, have no addiction potential, and studies show they can have medicinal benefits as well as can benefit personal and spiritual growth. The following natural and sacred plant and fungi material is what the resolution addresses. These plants and fungi have been utilized by cultures across the globe for hundreds and sometimes thousands of years. I would like to read from the resolution for the City Council and Arcata community. The evidence or research for presenting the resolution are found in the following whereas statements. Entheogens are mushrooms containing psilocybin, cacti containing mescaline, ayahuasca which contains DMT, and plants containing ibogaine. These entheogens can be beneficial for psychological and physical wellness, can enhance and support religious and spiritual practices, and can reestablish human relationship with nature. Scientific research has shown that entheogens are beneficial for those suffering from addiction, PTSD, chronic depression, severe anxiety, end-of-life anxiety, and cluster headaches, and other conditions that are present in our community. These entheogens catalyze profound experiences of personal and spiritual growth that would benefit the health and well-being of individuals and communities. People in our community seeking to improve their health and well-being through the use of entheogens should not have to worry about being arrested or prosecuted due to current legal prohibitions. The City of Arcata has other priorities for the use of its funds, staff, and public safety resources. The United Nations considers entheogenic plants and fungi used for ritual purposes as excluded from Schedule I substances, and these practices are already protected in the U.S. for certain groups under the principle of religious freedom. Entheogenic plants containing ibogaine can alleviate opioid and methamphetamine addiction more than any other treatment. Plant combinations similar to ayahuasca that contain DMT can be beneficial for treating addiction, depression, and catalyzing profound experiences of personal and spiritual growth. Cacti containing mescaline can be beneficial for treating drug addiction and alcohol addiction, and for enhancing spiritual growth. Mushrooms containing psilocybin can alleviate end-of-life anxiety, reduce prison recidivism, treat substance abuse, depression, and cluster headaches. Studies at Johns Hopkins have also shown that mushrooms can create mystical-type experiences, which were considered as one of the top 5 most meaningful experiences in the subject's life. All of these entheogens have been used in diverse religious and cultural traditions for millennia. Given these whereas statements, we are asking the Arcata City Council to decriminalize sacred plants and fungi with the following resolves. May it be resolved that the mayor, vice mayor, and city council declare the policy of the City of Arcata that the investigation and arrest of persons for planting, cultivating, purchasing, transporting, distributing, engaging in practices with, or possessing entheogenic plants and fungi or plant compounds on the federal Schedule I list shall not be a public safety priority for the City of Arcata, and city funds or resources shall not be used in investigating, detaining, arresting, or prosecuting the use and practices described above regarding entheogenic plants and fungi. This resolution does not authorize or enable any of the following activities: commercial sales or manufacturing of these plants and fungi, possessing or distributing these entheogens in schools, driving under the influence, public disturbance, or when public safety is jeopardized. Limited resources may be used to address these issues and does not deter investigation, prosecution, or arrest of crimes. May it be further resolved that the mayor, vice mayor, and city council call upon the Humboldt County District Attorney to cease prosecution of persons solely involved in the use of entheogenic plants and fungi or plant-based compounds designated by the Federal Controlled Substance Act. There are 6 cities that have adopted similar policies as this resolution across the U.S. These cities include Oakland and Santa Cruz, California, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Somerville and Cambridge, Massachusetts. And in these cities, 53 out of 54 city council members voted in support. And in Washington, D.C., there was a 76% voter approval. This highlights the strong desire of the community nationwide to change policy to decriminalize sacred plants and fungi. In terms of staff time related to this issue, this resolution has already been vetted by city attorney offices across the U.S. There have been no reports of emergencies or increased crime or public issues in connection with decriminalization of entheogens. Decriminalization is a risk reduction strategy so that those who are already having these experiences get the support and resources they need. Given the progressive nature of public safety officers already around this issue in Arcata, which does not prioritize the arrest of those using entheogens, we would like to codify this within the City Council to make it official and ensure people can have the personal sovereignty to heal with sacred plants and mushrooms. And I'm happy to answer any questions, and Dr. Larry Norris should be on the phone.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions or comments from the council?
I don't necessarily have a question, but I did just want to say, I guess, some of the reasons why I was happy to support this resolution, and just thank Danielle for bringing it to me and, being here tonight. And I see there is a lot of people in this audience who I've had the chance to meet at the farmers market, and, the various batches of letters that we have received. I think 5 batches of, letters of support. And even, during my own campaign, I heard that this was an issue that a lot of people, saw that Arcata could be a leader in this. And as we are kind of just going ahead, I just think, this is an important step for us to take, basically as a stand that we want to, step away from this war on drugs. And, we are in a town where you can probably walk out there and walk a block and get to a dispensary, right? I mean, marijuana used to be criminalized on a level, that was equivalent to where we're looking at entheogens today. And so, in a town where there are 5 to maybe even 10 at this point dispensaries, I think we can see this as a step of moving forward and see how criminalization of drugs, especially ones that are natural and plant-based and come from the earth, is not necessarily in the best interest of our community and of individuals. And also looking, you mentioned all the cities in the United States, the entire state of Oregon. California is currently looking at a state bill that has made it through the state Senate and is in the state assembly and has been in committee and is looking to do, a similar decriminalization that we're proposing here. And also the entire country of Portugal has, decriminalized drugs and has seen these benefits that you talk about with, less arrests, it's not encouraging people to go out and buy drugs left and right, right? It's a method of healing to step away from this criminalization and seeing somebody as a criminal for doing drugs, as an addict, and making them a deviant, where it should be something that we can help people with addiction, and maybe even in this case use these plants to help people with addiction. I have seen it firsthand from people in my own life that have used psilocybin to be able to overcome addictions to alcohol, addictions to smoking, and use microdosing as a way to improve their personal life. And reading over this resolution, I saw a lot of similarities. I compared it to Oakland's because that was the one I was, had heard about the most in California. I agree what's in here. I know the chief provided some changes that I think, especially in the wording, just so people aren't about that. Yeah, it's decriminalized, it's a free-for-all, let's go buy them left and right. No, but to focus on, the fact that this is a step away from the war on drugs. This is a step towards being able to look at these plants and fungi in a way that is healing, that can be used medicinally, and can be beneficial to a community, especially in ours, as we had a public comment earlier say, yeah, we have a methamphetamine problem, not only in Arcata, but in the entire county of Humboldt. If this is a solution to that, why not try it? Why not support it? Why not make it something? Yeah. Thank you. Wow. Okay. But that being said, yeah, why not try it? I guess that's how I'm actually going to wrap it up anyway. So thank you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, Councilmember Schaefer, for really championing this, and thank you so much, Danielle. And your presentation was deeply personal and very informative, and I really appreciate that vulnerability. I know it's not easy. This is our first council meeting in person. I'm like, what? Whoa. So I know it's not easy to stand up there and share something so vulnerable. So I really appreciate that, and all of you that showed up. I may not have responded to all of your emails, but I promise I saw them all. I don't know if I have too much to add to to what Sarah said because I think you said it beautifully. I don't see any reason to have another reason to police people, basically. This is not, this is just not an issue that affects like other people. Like, this is about you choose what you want for your life, I'll choose what I want for my life, and there's no reason to be criminalized for that. I don't know if I have too much to add, but I'm really grateful for all of you that put in hard work for this. So thank you.
All right, so at this point, we'll do public comment. So anybody who would like to make comment, please step up to the podium. You can form a line along the wall, and everybody will have a 2-minute time limit.
Hello.
Let's go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Awesome. My name is Cyrus Myers. I grew up here since '91, and I joined the military in 2015. I was in the military for 17 years. Excuse me, 7 years. I'm a little nervous in front of a lot of people. During my 2 times overseas in Iraq, I was subjected to a lot of violence early on. I lost 9 of my friends and 33 throughout the brigade. I saw men, women, and children blown up, shot, burned, and displaced by war. Growing up here, that was a lot to see in person. I wanted my own experience, and I got more than I bargained for. Coming back home after my second deployment, I almost shot myself. And a phone call from my dad right before I pulled the trigger kind of brought me back to reality of like, oh yeah, home. Like there's still some place I can go that's safe. Prior to that, I got heavily addicted into methamphetamine. I lost $40,000 in savings, a house, a cat, a car, my wife, and I woke up driving on the freeway. One experience with psychedelics, 14 hours later, changed my life. I stopped my use of methamphetamine, coke, and any other speed, and it's been 11 years since I've been clean, coming up on 12. I'm a firm believer that psychedelics gave me an opportunity to view my life outside of itself, as an observer versus a participant. I'm not here to advocate, and I do not wish for applause. I'm simply saying that sometimes medicine can be a drug, and sometimes drugs can be a medicine. It is all situational dependent, and it is on the individual to be given that opportunity and that experience to where they can at least try and not be subjected to drugs pushed by a pharmaceutical company, not be pushed to alcohol, which induces depression and anger. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, if we could please just hold back on the applause and just give everyone a chance to speak. It's also just like a really loud echo chamber in here, but that would be great. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Merle Kraus. I moved here 3 years ago from Sonoma County. I was an estate planning attorney for 25 years. I managed the senior council on aging in Santa Rosa for 3 years, and then I was on the board for a while of Final Passages, which is the Green Funeral and Final End of Life organization, and I've been to a seminar, and I just wanted to say that not just on the street, this is very compelling, but also as an end-of-life solution, it really helps and alleviates depression and people dealing with the end of their life. So it shouldn't be criminalized, and just from that aspect of the people, because we're all going to be there, and I feel like we should have the right to deal with it any way we can, and so thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is David. I wanted to thank you guys for being here today. It really means a lot. It's been a nice, fun journey. I am an active member of Decriminalize Nature Humboldt, and I've been at every farmer's market, and it's been a pleasure to, communicate with the public and see their reactions and not only share knowledge, but get knowledge and experience from them as well. And it's just been a life-changing experience. And I'm an alumni at Humboldt State with a degree in biochemistry, and I've done enormous amount of research on these health benefits. These plants and fungi have been used in medicinal and religious practices for thousands of years, so I don't see why we're not able to do that on a legal level. Since these substances have been, the center of conversation, it has allowed for more research and funding for research to actually find out these overall mental, stability, or to find out the mental health and overall mental stability of these compounds. And I think decriminalized nature is going to be the first step to fully understand the potential of these sacred medicines.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Skip Simbera, and I'm a member of the Decriminalized Nature movement here in Arcata. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here with an audience to speak about entheogens and my experiences. My story is also one of addiction, whether it was drugs, alcohol, tobacco, or even my job. Entheogens have helped me to overcome all of these addictions. Something that is not often talked about is the shame and the guilt that a former addict carries with them even after recovering from an addiction for the damage that they have done to themselves and the people around them. Entheogens have given me the tools to forgive myself and let go of the shame and guilt and to fully move on from my past. I have also had the privilege to spend time in a community that has ceremonial use of entheogens at the center of their culture. This is a small village in the Peruvian Amazon rainforest where the Shipibo people reside. What I have witnessed is, even in poverty, the community is happy, and all members of the community are treated with respect and dignity. Crime is also virtually non-existent, and if a community member has an emotional or spiritual crisis, they are able to seek out help and receive healing and clarity by sitting in ceremony with ayahuasca. I believe that our modern society has a lot to learn from these cultures, and decriminalizing the use of entheogens in our city is the first step in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for holding back on the applause. Really appreciate it. Right, next speaker.
Greetings, council members. My name is Madeline Baumann. I've been here for the past 6 years, living here, and I've been healing with master plant medicines for 8 years. Thank you for considering this proposal. It's my greatest life passion to uplift these plants and their healing powers. I'm a psychedelic integration coach and have been working in transformational addiction recovery as well. Currently on a team that's researching how first responders are healing from PTSD with the power of these plant medicines. And the results, again and again, as Danielle has expressed so eloquently, are astounding. And the psychedelic revolution is well underway. And it's important that we observe our relationship with these plant medicines as they become widely spread. And I feel that this is an incredible opportunity for us to do this as a community. So yeah, I look forward to continued education about preparation, integration, setting, so that this can be done in a graceful way. So yeah, I want to address that moving from a fear mindset and the sense of wrongness with these is a big part of this proposal. And so this will deepen the sensation of safety for our community. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, community members, kind relatives. Thank you so much for coming to support this resolution tonight. I spent 2 years in the military before I was forced to honorably discharge due to a serious mental health condition. The major depressive episode that I found myself in at the end of 2014 nearly cost me my life. I did not find healing through drug addiction or alcohol or traditional therapy. For years, I struggled. I walked every day with pain, and it wasn't until I was able to have a transformational psychedelic experience with ayahuasca that opened a doorway for me into more of these sacred plant teachers that since then I have been able to find true healing, joy, and beauty in my life. Feelings that for years I was not able to find healing and relief, that I wasn't able to find anywhere else except through these natural gifts that the earth has given us, that there is so much science now and research out there to back just how profoundly useful they can be in so many different varieties of therapeutic settings. And the reason why I'm involved with the decriminalized nature movement here in Arcata is because I believe every human being should have the right to work with these medicines. They shouldn't have to have a sense of fear or worry or that they're doing something wrong, as Madeline just said, but that we all deserve the right to heal. And in a community that is plagued by a mental health epidemic, every single member of our community here deserves the right to fair, safe, ethical, and equitable access to these entheogenic medicines. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lydia, and my passion behind this medicine is very similar to a lot of other people, being severely depressed at a very young age and finally finding a medicine that brought me hope. I've always been very involved with the youth of my community growing up through sports and music. I ended up, as I got older, becoming a coach and a teacher in many different forms. And it is so wonderful, but also so heartbreaking to have such young people reach out to me telling me how suicidal they are, especially when I went through that myself. A lot of dear friends, even family, people that I just know from school have had their lives ripped apart from legal prescribed drugs that completely turned their lives upside down. I don't even have the words to express my heartbreak with that. And especially throughout this youth, it just has become more and more prevalent. The amount of even children that have reached out to me telling me that they want to kill themselves is just horrifying. And just knowing what this medicine has done for me and how I was severely depressed after very many traumatic events in my life, very personal things that I thought I could never get out of, using this medicine, like everyone else, has given me so much hope, and I just really hope that the future and that history will end up using it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings, council members, community. My name is Ezekiel Ayo. I'm a local here. I was born here. And yeah, I don't do the public speaking thing a lot, so I'm just gonna do my best. Yeah, I believe that these plant medicines are our allies and our teachers, and I believe that they have an important role in evolving humanity. I think that they need to be approached with a lot of respect and reverence and safety and knowledge about them, and try and just be safe. Yeah, a few years ago I started working with ayahuasca, and it's greatly changed my life for the better. I just feel like a deeper sense of connection with myself and nature, and maybe a deeper understanding that we're maybe not so separate from nature. I think that just helps in treating our earth better. Yeah, just feeling more confident in who I am and a deeper trust in myself, my inner knowing. Being able to just kind of walk through the world in an easier way and feel more comfortable in my body and in my skin. And yeah, just super helpful. I feel like, made a lot of personal growth in the past few years. And yeah, just want to give thanks for these plant teachers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Stuart Richland. I'm a local, of 2 years local anyway. And, these are our God-given rights to access these states. So I think the things that were said by the council members are amazing, and the community. But in terms of jurisdiction, let's always remember that, government has limits. Our Constitution is one of limited government. So the question is, can the government stop religious exercise? Of course not. But I'm just so happy that most of the things people mentioned were in terms of their spiritual experiences and awakenings. Just in my own case, there I was at UC San Diego tripping balls, and I realized I was a Buddhist. And then years later, I was making love with this girl who became 10,000 women, and I realized I was with my future wife. And then many years later, I realized while tripping that the bed was ice cold and I was probably not going to stay in that bed forever. These substances literally give you the access to an infinite font of religious clarity and wisdom and nature and what I think our founding fathers would have said, the Creator or God. So I don't think the government should or can interfere with that exercise. That being said, I think we should go as far as possible, not just to make it a low priority, but to go ahead and foster medical in the beginning, the way it's been done in some other jurisdictions, notes, just like it was in the beginning with cannabis. So there could be therapy assisted with psychedelics. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Luke Aroney. I've been living in Arcata on and off for about 8 years. I originally came up here as a student at HSU. And during that time, I was experiencing a really heavy depressive episode. I just felt really lost. I was a young adult, and a friend invited me to take psilocybin mushrooms with him out in the forest, and that was one of the most transformative experiences of my life. It just opened me up to a whole new world of perspective. It felt like it was the first time I kind of saw reality without a filter, so to speak. And at the end of the day, I just really felt more connected and at home on this earth than I ever had before. And I think that is an experience that should be available to every human being, is feeling that you are a part of the universe and that you belong here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Caleb. I'm a New York born, Pennsylvania raised, pretty nervous person right now. I moved to California last September at the height of the wildfire season and traveled around for a bit before settling down in Arcata. Beautiful place. I love it so much. I have Asperger's. I'm on the spectrum. And at the end of 2019, I tried a microdose of psilocybin for the first time and realized that there's a whole wealth of myself that I never knew about. And I took on a personal interest in pursuing learning more about my own bodily autonomy and my own rights. And my special interest right now is hallucinogenic plants and entheogens. I read a lot of books about them. I have 2 books about them in my bag right now, and they've helped me enormously. A couple years ago when I've always been a very anxious person, and I've tried multiple anxiety medications, and at around age 13, I went on an anxiety medication that gave me a psychotic break, and I was hospitalized for 2 weeks after jumping off of a bridge. Needless to say, after that, after multiple attempts with traditional mental health medications, I was declared with treatment-resistant anxiety and seasonal depression. And for me personally, having a grandmother who suffers from schizophrenia, I never thought I would be one to experiment with hallucinogenic substances, but microdosing has given me a lot to think about. It's helped me a lot. It's helped my anxiety, despite my current anxious state. And I would really love to see this bill or motion being passed and to see, yeah, time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for hearing us. My name is David. I'm actually not an Arcata resident. I live up in Neeland. I just came down to kind of voice and support this movement. And thank you guys. What you said was just brilliant, and I love that we have this support locally and stuff. I'm 32. My first time trying psilocybin was when I was 22. And I grew up in Utah, and I just kind of grew up in a religious system that at the point where I got to taking these, it kind of like disrupts your entire veil of like what's actually happening. And so I just became fascinated with it after that first trip. I became a psychedelic advocate, and it's something that's beautiful to hear support in the community about, but it's also just because we kind of know what this is, and it's something that's worth sharing. So I'll just leave you guys with something that I wrote called As Sealed as I've been healed by psilocybin.
Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to express my gratitude to actually be able to speak in front of any council. Coming from Serbia, where these things are actually even not possible for regular people to talk with people who are in charge for anything, makes me like, wow. And not just talking about anything, but talking about connection with nature and everything that nature has to offer to us. For me, this is like a dream. So I just wanted to share my appreciation to actually be here and being able to speak about this thing and not hiding for that, not hiding the benefits that actually ethnogenics brought to me. And I'm sure that actually the spirit of the nature actually brought me here to be here in Arcata right now and to be possibly the part of something that is happening all around this country. And I'm super grateful for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, City Council. My name is Alessandra Russo. I'm a local here. I'm a botany student and mycology student and herbalist and artist and lover of plants and fungi. If I start talking about why I love them, I will cry. I'm in danger of crying anyway. I just wanted to express and comment on the fact that this meeting is one of I'm going to start crying. It's okay. It's just going to happen. This meeting is one of the reasons I'm so grateful to live in Arcata, to be able to have a platform like this for people to come to a city council meeting and to be able to express such vulnerability and human connection and like true connection with the world that we know is not separate from us, is we call nature, and is also still just what we are doing here. And it feels really beautiful to be able to live in a city where we can come to a governmental meeting and bring that into a brick and mortar building. So yeah, that's really cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michael. I'm a local carpenter, and I really appreciate everything that's been spoken about, the value that psychedelics can contribute to our personal well-being as individuals. And I also want to speak to the importance of the fact that we've evolved as creatures in a very grand ecology, and we as humans are a very small part of that. And it seems like certain parts of human culture forgets that, has a habit of forgetting that, and aggrandizes themselves. And there's an important communication link with the rest of the field of intelligence with nature that is facilitated by psychedelics. And yeah, our minds have evolved with these plants as a part of our environment to help us understand how to cooperate with the long-term plan and the long-term synchronization that has long been before we existed and will continue after we're gone. And so I'm really grateful that you guys are listening and hearing this out, and I think that it's vitally important to our existence as a part of this ecology. So, thanks.
Thank you.
My name's Alicia. I work as a civil engineer. I moved up to Arcata last November. And I wasn't going to speak at first, but I just wanted to say that I've spoken in a number of city council meetings when I lived in Santa Cruz, which is where I moved from, and have come to speak for things that I really love before. And I've never been in a city council meeting where I've cried from an open-hearted space like this so many times from hearing everyone here speak. And I don't even have words to express the level of gratitude I have to know that this resolution is here, that this is being received by the city council, and to hear all the stories everyone here has shared. And the fact that that level of open-heartedness and presence and vulnerability is able to happen within a government building like this is incredible, and I think really speaks to the potency of these medicines and of the spiritual experience and the connective experience people are able to have through it. So thank you, and thank all of you, and thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to comment on this item? This will be the last opportunity to make public comment on the item. All right. Seeing none, we'll come back to the council.
Mayor, we have potentially one call-in on this item.
Okay.
You may have one other at the podium as well, but that's what you're looking for. But I think, Danielle, do you know, did Larry want to speak? He was on the call for a while listening, and then he's dropped off. Okay, so we don't need to call him for just regular comment, you know. Okay. All right, wasn't sure. All right, we're good.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, so we'll bring it back to the council. Any more comments, questions from the council?
And maybe just quickly before you do, so the item before you tonight was the presentation. What we're looking for in terms of staff direction is if the council is interested in staff working with the Decriminalized Nature Humboldt group to finalize language on a resolution, and then we would be bringing that back at a future meeting. The other alternative would be to have that final language also reviewed by a city committee. In this case, you know, most likely would be the Public Safety Committee in terms of kind of some of our regular process. But so those would be, if there was anything specific that you wanted considered in the resolution, if you want us to consider the resolution, if there's anything specific that you'd like us to work with the group on that came to you tonight, and then if there was any other groups or anybody else that you wanted for us to reach out to prior to bringing it back, if that's a desire of the council.
So first, I genuinely want to say thank you to everybody for being vulnerable and to sharing your experiences and all the positive things that you've had from these. I'm afraid what I'm going to say is going to be a little bit of a downer on all the energy that we've had. And so I just want you to know that I don't mean this personally. I'm going to raise some questions just that I think we should talk about before moving forward. So, but I wanted to acknowledge and thank all of you for what you said. On a personal level, I absolutely do support the spirit of the resolution. I believe the testimonies that we've heard. But as a council member, I do have some questions, and I think we as a council should consider before we move forward. So I've spent a lot of time on this. I did talk to our chief of police. I did meet with Daniela and the group and spoke to other members of our community because it is an important issue. So I have given it a lot of consideration. So things that I've been struggling with are one of the issues that we have right now is a limited amount of staff time. So we have extremely limited resources and an abundance of goals, and that's a consideration. I know it's a practical thing. It's not very sexy, but it's where we are, and so I think that that's something that we should consider before we move forward and request more staff time. And just also as it was brought up, maybe to inquire from other aspects of the community, like, do we want to know what our public health department thinks about this, or should it go through our public safety committee? I know the Chief Ahern did give some feedback on the resolution, which some of it was taken and some of it wasn't. You know, does he feel like it's a resolution that will work for our community and for the police department? Should there be an educational campaign that accompanies the resolution? I think a really important part of what you guys were talking about is that you had positive experiences because you must have had the right guidance and teaching and surroundings in which to do that. And I do, on personal accounts, have experienced, not myself, but through other people, some very negative things when these types of medicines go wrong, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Sometimes they're misused or not used properly, and there can be very serious consequences. So, you know, the resolution itself, it gives many examples of the healing proprieties of entheogenic plants and fungi. But approving such a resolution without a proper educational campaign to go along with it is concerning to me, because as some of you guys pointed out, there are people who are desperate to feel better, and this could be a solution for them. But, you know, if we're writing a resolution, we're essentially endorsing these practices. And so I just want to make sure that we will have done or will do our due diligence to consider their safety. And just from a practical aspect, I looked up SB 519 because it is what Sarah brought up, you know, legalizes the possession of psychedelics, and it is making its way through the Senate. So it's been approved by the California Assembly Public Safety Committee, and it's moving forward. If it passes, which it looks like there is a good chance it could, it'll be accomplishing, I believe, in a sense of what this proposed ordinance is suggesting. So I'm just wondering, is this something that we do need to devote our staff time and resources on if it will become state legislation in the near future? So for me to move forward and support the resolution, I'd want some of these answers. I would want answers to the questions that I pointed out. And that will naturally lead to more staff time spent on this issue. So would just kind of like to discuss that with council. Is that the best use of our resources and time? So these are just questions that I have. Thanks.
Karen, could we get an estimate on the amount of staff time? City Manager Deemer.
Sure, that's all good. The construction of the resolution will certainly take some of, likely the chief's time, who I think is here somewhere, but and probably my own time. Okay. If you have specific questions for him, I mean, I think, the bigger question is how does the resolution end up resonating within the community, and is there additional follow-up? I haven't reached out to an official way to Oakland or Santa Cruz. It does sound like in both of those communities, there were some, say, pop-up businesses that decided once these resolutions were passed in those communities that the sale was approved, in essence, and that, they started in retail outlets. So, I mean, it's hard to know exactly how much staff time. I think a lot of it does depend on, how we educate the community around this. Reading through SB 519, there is a statewide framework to try to figure out some of that stuff as it moves forward, and there are resources coming from the state to support that work. So if the council is interested in moving forward with that, I think at least at your next meeting, we could outline what we think any of those impacts would be. I think the actual development and, between the chief and myself and our city attorney could certainly go through and provide you with their desired resolution, any suggested changes that we might have for you to consider in a fairly minimal amount of time. I think the bigger piece is how do we want, if we wanted to move forward and implement in the community, what type of resources would we want to put forth to ensure that we were doing that safely, and I could work with the group to see what that might look like, if that was the council's wish.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on the safety issue. And just, I understand that is a valid concern, and it is a lot of something that people are worried about. But I think that psilocybin is a lot safer and a lot less addictive and harmful than Xanax or Valium or alcohol, for that matter. So I don't really think that, I don't know, I don't think that's the scary concern here. I think there are things that are legal in our community that are a lot more dangerous and cause a lot more deaths in our community than when was the last time you had a mushroom driver hit somebody. I think that is a lot less of a concern. So just that comment.
I think that's a really good point. And I really appreciate everything that Councilmember Atkins-Salazar said as well. I think that to be an effective council, we have to think of things from all sides of things. So I appreciate you bringing another perspective. I like the idea of an educational aspect to this, but not having one wouldn't deter me from moving forward. But I do think it would be very beneficial for the community. I like that idea a lot. I think it would potentially do even more good, really help people understand this. All of you shared really personal things, and I'm really moved by that, so I want to share something personal too. So I also, like many of you, deal with a lot of depression and anxiety, but unlike you, pharmaceutical drugs have worked for me. And if anyone tried to take that away from me or tried to criminalize me for that, I don't know what I would do. And so just because I use something different to deal with my mental health issues doesn't mean that I think the way you do it is wrong or any worse or that my way is any better. And I have had moments where there's been lapses in my prescription and I had to frantically call my doctor, and that is terrifying to think I won't get my next dose because it has really changed my life. And so we have pretty poor mental health care in this community. I think we can all be pretty honest about that. And if this is something that is improving the mental health of our community, then I can't say no to that, because one thing it's not a one size, mental health is not one size fits all. And what works for me is not going to work for the next person necessarily. We're all really different. And so I just wanted to say thank you, because I think I already kind of came into this feeling like I feel pretty good about this. I'll probably vote yes, but you all really touched me, and I really appreciate that. So I think that this is bigger than just legalizing or decriminalizing one type of drug or medicine. I think it is about improving the mental health in our community, which is something we've stated as a council is our goal.
And just to add what Councilmember Goldstein said, and what Councilmember Atkins Salazar said, is it worth our city staff time? Well, if it's something that can help the mental health of our community, help our homeless community, which I think are the two top priorities of our council goals this year, then I think this falls under that category. I don't think it is a waste of staff resources, especially when we have an almost complete resolution sitting in front of us. And you said, yeah, that would be the minimal hours. The larger hours are the education of the community, offering workshops or spaces. And I saw you guys were kind of pointing at Danielle maybe on a comment about how that would be addressed by the group, and that could be something that happens in conversations with city staff. Again, if we decide that we want to move forward to city staff doing that this evening. But yeah, so I think the education aspect is the time, but that's not necessarily going to take up as much of city and staff resources. We're not drafting an entire resolution from scratch. We're able to follow other communities in California who have already done this to show their support of this. I think it's perfectly great to pass it before State Bill 519, because we are showing that, yes, the state should pass this bill. It should be something that moves forward. So.
I'm sorry, we're not taking any more public comment. I'm sorry, sir. Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. Sir. Were they here for public comment? Okay. What prohibited them from getting in line? They couldn't get in line? I'm confused. Okay. At the very end, I did ask, was there any more public comment? At the very end, when everybody was out of line and there was no longer a line? Yeah. Okay. I'd like to give the Chief Ahern an opportunity to address the council and share any thoughts.
Hi, good evening, council, community members, city manager, city attorney, city staff. I think I have to, in listening to council member Atkins Salazar and listening to everybody's personal stories tonight, I certainly have some feelings about this, but I want to be very respectful about how personal and how much courage it took for you to come here and publicly share your story. I'm very respectful of that. I have not had similar experiences, and so I feel like my initial sense of this resolution, it would minimize your personal stories, and I don't want to do that in this setting. I am looking forward, though, to some further discussion, as the city manager talked about, and ultimately, I do what I am told to do. by the council and by the city manager. But make no mistake, I'm here as your chief to protect you, and to protect you. And I feel like just at a fundamental level, without safeguards in place, without some sort of regulation, I am fearful that people who perhaps are not represented here tonight may look at this as governmental permission to experiment, which could turn into a very, very tragic situation that's multiplied. So quite frankly, I felt like I was on a psychedelic trip tonight myself, listening to everything. I mean, it's, you people believe in this. So I value that. And obviously, I think we can take out the language about fearful of arrest, because many of you are doing it over and over again. Cool. So let's maybe take that piece out, because this really isn't about the police department. But the resolution is. Right? It's about fear of arrest, law enforcement, like we're banging down people's doors and taking away their psychedelic drugs. That doesn't happen here in Arcata. So I think we can do some work and maybe bring the resolution to where it's more factual and representative of our great community here in Arcata, and respectful of what you are trying to achieve through these substances at the, I guess, the governance of the city council. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask a question to the chief here, and this might be a very hypothetical question. I mean, so say we don't pass any resolution like this and it disappears. And then Decriminalize Nature Humboldt is holding an event where you can participate and learn how to safely take psilocybin. What would the police department do? I mean, in that case, that is illegal. So would you go there and you would stop it? I think the point of this resolution is to say, yeah, you could have these educational events where we take that step to have the education to safeguard against these worries that, you know, folks have. And so I guess the question is, I mean, in a case where a group like Decriminalize Nature would want to hold an educational event that could involve people at that event maybe having their own personal possession of these, of plants, fungi, whatever it might be, and are taking them, you know, what then is the police action? Because I think that's the fear. That's the fear of arrest. I mean, that's the fear of a ticket or of arrest, of citation, whatever it might be. Maybe not fear of arrest, take that out, but fear of legal action, you know, so.
With an illegal product. But the fact of the matter is, we're I mean, that is a major hypothetical example that I think, to a certain degree, is unfair. Every case is different. And, you know, I do like the piece in the resolution that affords anytime there's a public disturbance, you know, that doesn't mean that the police department can't respond and take care of that issue. I think that's interpreted by some as, yeah, but the mushroom piece you have to ignore. Well, I mean, let's back up a little bit more. I mean, what gives the Arcata City Council the right to circumvent the law to begin with? I mean, let's answer some of those fundamental questions, because where does it go from there? Right? As the chief of police, do I get to decide which use of force policies to follow and which ones not to? So, you know, I think we're setting a precedent here that I think we need to be very, very careful about, and very thoughtful about, and do our homework, so that we know exactly what it is we're signing up for.
Sorry, just one more comment. So, I mean, based off of what you just said, then is all of the marijuana in the state of California illegal because it's federally illegal? Is the entire state of Oregon, by decriminalizing Schedule I drugs, it's illegal and it can't be enforced? That's how federalism works. I mean, you start at the smallest level and you can make decisions based on your community and build them up. And so, I mean, I don't know. I think saying, well, it's illegal, but so is pot federally. If you left here and went to a state that's not legal, you're in big trouble, you know. And so, I mean, just because something's federally illegal when it probably shouldn't be, I don't know. I don't think that should discourage this, but it's the same principle, really. So, I mean, I think that point is moot.
Yeah, I mean, respectfully, you asked what authority we have. I mean, it is our job to guide our city. I mean, that is our authority. And so, I mean, I say that respectfully. I don't mean any disrespect, but you did question our authority, and that is our authority. So this is what our people, I was elected by the people. This is what my people say they want. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Chief, for your comments. So
On the Lost Coast Outpost comment section.
Yeah. So I do agree that there should be some kind of educational component. I mean, I'd like to see that largely done by Decriminalize Humboldt. I feel like they're the ones with the most knowledge about it, and so to me that's a really important part about moving anything forward. And it is pretty standard practice. We do have committees for a reason to look at things more in-depth level for us, and I do think it'd be appropriate to send it through our Public Safety Committee. So those are my two, thoughts on it. We should send it to the Public Safety Committee for review, and and I'd like to see an educational component, some kind of campaign brought forward to the city.
Can I make a motion? Or are we gonna talk about it more? Because I think you just said the part that adds to the motion, basically. So I want to move to have city staff work with Decriminalized Nature to bring an official resolution while focusing on education aspect and a review of the Public Safety Committee as well.
I'll second.
So yeah, I'm not ready to bring a motion forward yet. I'd like to, again, have the... Yeah, cool. Okay. But we do have a motion in a second, so we can call the vote on it. All those in favor? Yeah, no. Yeah.
No.
Okay. You called the motion in a second, so we got to vote on it. So I'm going to say no.
Aye.
Aye.
And I just want to say, I do not mean this personally. I know it's going to feel personal to you, and whether or not you believe me, I can't control that, but I am sincere in those thoughts. I'm happy to write a letter of support for SB 519, but I'm going to vote no for now.
So yeah, I'm not opposed to this at all. I met with Danielle. I was really impressed with her. We had a great conversation about it. I have a lot of my own experiences and stories about mental health, and I really appreciate the positive impact people report from using entheogens. And yeah, I would just like to see the Public Safety Committee review it, and I'd like to see an educational component before we take another step.
I mean, so then what's the next step is my question, because the motion was to move it forward to have those things. So I'm just, and again, I'm new. I'm like asking, as you, the more knowledgeable person, like, what do we need here? What do you specifically want from this?
Yeah, no, you had also included having the staff work on the resolution. So I just wanted to, I just wasn't ready for that step yet. So I don't know. I don't think we need a motion to send it to the Public Safety Committee, and then have Decriminalize Humboldt work on an education component.
So. From the Public Safety Committee, you want to come back with their recommendation? Is that the step that you're asking for?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I think the committees meet regularly. I don't really see it as prolonging it very long. I just think it's an appropriate step to take, and it's what we normally do with stuff. All right. Any more comments? Questions?
When does the Public Safety Committee meet?
Right, next Wednesday. Yeah.
So very soon.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mayor Watson, I didn't hear your vote on that motion. No. Okay.
Okay, well, that is the end of this agenda item. Really appreciate everybody coming out. We will take a 5-minute break. All right. Welcome back from the break. And our next agenda item is discussion regarding city beautification as the city rebuilds from the pandemic. May we please have a staff report?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this item is maybe just to kind of share some of the past year and a half history around parks and facilities, some of the budget cuts that we've made, and just in part maybe explain where some of the status of the city's regular maintenance schedules are. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, city parks and street services really were decreased substantially to offset some of the economic losses that were resulting from the stay-at-home orders. When we were not bringing in TOT tax, when we were not bringing in sort of our standard sales tax. And as the city seeks to recover financially and support business growth, there have been a lot of questions around the importance of prioritizing some city beautification to support economic recovery during that period. During last year's budget, not the budget that we're just starting in here in July, but the city froze really 3 of the 5 full-time positions in parks and 1 of our 3 full-time positions in facilities. In addition, parks typically in their heavy season runs about 8 part-time, full-time staff, but on half of a year. So we consider them part-time staff. And during last year, during the COVID pandemic, we were really down 7 of those. We only had 1 part-time staff that was working regularly with them. So I know the community is really starting to see and feel that maintenance level as we've been coming out of the COVID pandemic. And in this year's budget, we were able to restore a few of those positions, but we are still short a position in streets that does vegetation maintenance around kind of the streetways, as well as 1 position in parks. And we are working to rebuild. We're about half down in our part-time. So as we've come out of the pandemic, we have started to see a lot of use in our parks, on our sports fields. The crabs are playing again, which is exciting. But we really have been prioritizing the maintenance of those areas and the recovery of those areas around where we have activities and where we have events. And that does still leave a lot of the vegetated areas, a lot of the planters, a lot of the bulbs out, and a lot of the streetscapes in either kind of a no maintenance position or a very, very long interval period of sort of maintenance. And so I just want to assure the council that that's not the city's goal in maintenance. That hasn't been our standard in maintenance overall. But as you start to see things come out, there are some things as we come out of the pandemic that are simply going to happen slower than others. And so I think we just wanted to have a conversation about where that fits in sort of the city's priorities around economic recovery from the pandemic, and be able to take any of that feedback as we start to look forward to how we prioritize the budget that we do have this year.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions or comments from the council?
Well, I mean, I think part of the report is from some of the requests that I've brought up, so I just wanted to talk about those. And because I have offered to gather some people and go pull some of, there's weeds on the plaza that are taller than I am. So, and I look at them and I'm like, they're huge. If you just pulled it out, it'd make a huge difference. So, I've out of that spirit have, offered for help, but I don't want that to be, if staff is listening or watching or hearing, not to be like offensive to them, like to think that they're not doing their jobs. I just know that we're very shorthanded. So, and that part, if it's going to be lagging, is it appropriate to utilize some of our organizations like Main Street or the Chamber to organize some community cleanups that we could, we do the trash pickups and such, but we could do a little bit more. And I know there's a fine line between stepping on, the toes of our workers, and I absolutely don't want to do that. But if there's a way that we can pitch in and make up for that difference, that's all I'm suggesting. So.
Maybe I missed it, but do you know where the specific areas in Arcata that have had the least attention? Because I know Mayor Watson and I took a walk through Valley West probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and just had noticed, we just commented to each other, we'd seen some graffiti on like the play structures, and more weeds growing, gutters full of like just leaves and things like that. Just a little bit more than maybe we'd seen in other parts of Arcata. So I was just curious to know where like the cuts have been felt the most.
I think it's been a little bit more by classification of park and sort of the use pattern. So Valley West would be classified as a neighborhood park. So I think you would have seen that same result in all of our neighborhood parks in terms of just the interval of maintenance on them. Where we used to be able to visit them really 3 times a week in the neighborhood parks, we're probably down to once a week, just doing basic trash pickup as quickly as possible. And then mowing as we start to get on that schedule again. So it's probably, as opposed to, you know, say a premier site like the Plaza, you know, would be considered, or the Arcata Community Center Park, where we see the use levels, or if we have active bookings at the sports complex fields or at the Arcata Ballpark, or specific events that we're prepping for. So, I mean, and we will see, I mean, as we come out, so, you know, the crabs finished the first week in August, so that will actually free up some staff time to get back out into the community in some of those neighborhood areas. You will see us be able to change some of those priorities moving forward. But it's going to be tight for, you know, at least this next year in terms of our ability to get back up to the standard that we were pre-pandemic, you know. And I am talking in recreation, we're still down, we're in the process, we will be hiring this fiscal year. We did not hire the recreation coordinator position. That is still frozen. And then the recreation supervisor position, which typically manages all of our special events in the city and kind of doubles over on the park side, right now was to be vacant until the end of the year. Based on some other vacancies, I might be able to move that position up a little bit, but it does take us time to recruit. So we will be very limited and probably not doing any actual building facility rentals until at least January, as we just simply don't have that staff level going into this fiscal year. So at your next meeting, we will be doing an update sort of on all of our COVID response, everything that was sort of shut down and what we've been able to restore, and where we do still have some limited hours or restrictions in some of those areas as we rebuild. It is really exciting to be able to rebuild. I just want to have the recognition that it's not going to happen as fast as we all want it to happen, and to definitely call if they see safety and health issues out in their neighborhood parks, and we will be able to try to prioritize those. But we're certainly going to be honest with the community that we're not able to make the rounds like we did 2 or 3 years ago.
Thank you. Yeah, and the city beautification is, you know, been a priority for me for a long time, and I'm glad to see we're going to get G Street paved this year. Appreciate the council's support on that, and just focusing on the, you know, main areas of the city like Valley West, G&H Street, the Plaza. So, you know, I'm also hopeful that with, you know, some of the COVID relief money we get, some of the stimulus money, that we'll be able to put that back into the city, reinvest it back into the city. Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this item?
My name's Joanne McGreta, and I want to just say what I said earlier. Beautification would be really important in the context of a climate emergency. So how we do things, what we do, why we do them. You know, I go back to the example on Earth Day when I had to walk across the plaza to the blaring noise of a gas sitting mower mowing the lawn on the plaza on Earth Day, spewing carbon emissions into the air. We cannot keep doing things the same way, and there could be cost savings in being creative and in civic engagement in the community, in beautifying the neighborhood parks, the community centers, the landscape. And I just think we need to start thinking very differently about a lot of these issues and how we do them, why we do them, who can do them, and what we do. So the climate change, the climate emergency is foremost in all that we need to do. And so let's think of creative ways. Let's have lawn mowing contests on the plaza, you know, weed pulling contests with different rotaries and chambers and fraternities and sororities, whatever, you know, just let's start getting the community involved in their community in a creative way and a good way for the future.
Thank you. Do you have any other members of the public that would like to comment on city beautification?
House of Arcata, we need to be responsible in building a new model that makes the old one obsolete. I envision a city where we use our historic water treatment plant to reclaim water and pipe it back to the plaza to water what grass we do have, and not waste and squander the resources that have been given us for millennia right here. If we live in harmony in these ways and think of that new model that's sustainable and realize that everything we've done is an old, worn-out plan on vinyl, and there's a public service announcement I'd just like to repeat once again. It comes to us from a generation who is yet unborn, who demands of us now to leave the oil in the soil so the earth will not despoil. In the name of Father Sky and Mother Earth, cease and desist the violation of the place of our sacred and common birth. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public like to comment on this item? All right. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council. Any more comments, questions from the council?
Yeah, I just want to make, I don't know what direction we're going with this, but I definitely think, you know, these ideas and like what Councilmember Atkins Salazar said, I mean, getting Main Street involved, getting the chamber involved. I know the Rotary clubs, I at least know the one I used to be involved with in Eureka, you know, they do these done in a day projects, you know, we can sponsor that as a group and say, hey, yeah, let's done in a day, pull all the weeds on the plaza. There you go. It's good. I actually even saw, you know, there was a couple of probably, I would assume, houseless individuals sitting on the planter the other day, and they were just chatting, and they were pulling weeds and throwing them in the trash can. And I said, that's really nice to see that, you know, they are taking, you know, they spend a lot of time on the plaza. They're taking partially their own initiative, too. And so using, again, bringing all of the community members in. And I see our Valley West cleanup champion in here as well. Kimberly, thank you. But, you know, just seeing community members come together, being able to clean up their area at least once a month, you know, and you know, get in touch and meet other people from your community and see, you know, who your neighbors are, I think is, you know, because the city sponsors those cleanups, right? In Valley West, is that a city-sponsored event? Or
we do support the cleanups in Valley West, and then, you know, we started supportive cleanups in the North Town.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to try to find ways to support, but really Wildberries has stepped up to take over the Northtown cleanup. So just a huge kind of shout out and thank you to Wildberries for taking that initiative. And we always met there, even when the city supported them. And we'll continue to try to support where we can in the Northtown.
And so, I mean, yeah, just continuing to support those and maybe, you know, striking up another similar kind of cleanup work together with perhaps Main Street to, you know, take care of the plaza, do some weeds, do some trash. With, as you said, yeah, without stepping on the toes, you know, of city staff and stuff. It's not like you're not doing your job. It's that, yeah, we know that you're short staffed. We know that there's budget cuts, but if we want to all see it together as a community, let's go do it. And so I think there's a lot of more creative ways that we can support too. So thank you.
Great. All right. Unless there's any more comments, we will move on to oral and written communications. This time is provided for people to address the council or submit written communications on matters not on the agenda. At the conclusion of all oral and written communications, the council may respond to statements. Any request that requires council action will be set by the council for a future agenda or referred to staff. Speakers addressing the council may be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 5, but we're doing 3 tonight, just to be clear. And a time limit on the overall length of oral communications may be imposed. So, do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on an item not on tonight's agenda?
Hi, it's Joanne Magretta again, and I just want to say that what I heard tonight, in the little I could hear with the sound a bit, but what the city of Arcata could benefit by is realizing that everything is connected, whether it's a discussion on plant-based medicines or plants in the planters on the plaza. Everything is connected in our community, and we need to start, you know, having sort of an umbrella philosophy. And I'm going to come back at a future meeting and present the concept I presented a few years ago about our city, Arcata, becoming a city of peace through the International Cities of Peace organization, becoming a nonviolent city in the Nonviolent City Project through the Pace y Beni organization, and signing on to the Charter of Compassion, which was Karen Armstrong's TED Talk offshoot, and so that we can, as a city and a community and people, create an environment that we want of peace, nonviolence, and compassion. So look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to comment on items not on tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to council and staff reports. We have a presentation by Eileen Verbeck, Arcata Police Department Business Manager, on implementation of a Park Mobile, a mobile pay parking application to accept multiple forms of payment at existing parking meters.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. As we were first preparing the staff report, we realized we didn't actually need council approval because the contract is for $0. But it is a very exciting new thing, so we wanted to make sure that you knew that we were moving in this direction and just describe a little bit about the program. City staff have been looking for ways for a few years now to offer additional payment options for our paid parking at our parking meters. We currently have 260 metered spaces throughout the city, and we charge 75 cents an hour at those spaces. Replacing the meter heads, we got quotes, and it was going to be about $900 per meter head to replace it, in addition to a monthly maintenance cost per meter head and a per transaction fee, all charged to the city. Years ago, when I talked to HSU when they were moving to this, they said it wasn't financially feasible unless you increase the amount of paid parking. We would be losing revenue. So due to the prohibitive cost, we began exploring mobile payment applications. These apps allow users to pay for parking through the app, by text, or by a phone call. They can use credit cards, debit cards, or other emerging forms of payment. This includes Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal. I could go on. It seems like every week there's a new one. The app will notify users if their time is running up, and they can add more time if needed remotely. We received proposals from two companies, Park Mobile and Passport, and both proposals offered this service to the city at no cost. The fees for the use of the app and the credit card transaction fees are to be paid by the user. And just to clarify, they can still use coins, so this is just another option on top of coins. During the proposal process, we did coordinate with HSU. They're moving to a similar platform, and we were hopeful that we would roll out the same app around the same time. However, HSU has chosen to go with Passport, and the city has decided to go with Park Mobile. And some of the reasons why we've deviated, Park Mobile is more widely used on the West Coast, including Bay Area, Sacramento, and we feel like the users in our area may already be familiar with this app. Park Mobile's proposal included a bundled flat rate, which included the convenience fee and the credit card transaction fee. And so Passport was 3 different fees, one of which was 1% of the total parking cost. So overall, Park Mobile's fee structure is going to cost the user much less. So for example, 1 hour of parking with Park Mobile is the city 75 cents, and the transaction fees will be 45 cents. With Passport, 1 hour of parking would cost the user the 75 cents and $1.32 in transaction fees. Lastly, Park Mobile's interface for parking enforcement was just much more user-friendly. So a burden off of our one parking enforcement officer. Park Mobile will provide all the signs and stickers to place on the meter heads and around the metered parking, informing citizens of the option to use this program. They also will provide marketing material for us to put out to educate and inform citizens about this option. Additionally, Park Mobile provides at no cost a web-based reporting dashboard. This will allow the city to see revenue by area, by date, and by time. I did see an email that came out from a citizen asking if it would allow the city flexibility to have dynamic pricing if we ever decided to do that, which would be your rates increase depending on the need or the availability of parking. And that is possible with this dashboard. We could set the rates by date, by time, by special event. You know, we would have a lot of options. And then lastly, if the city wanted to expand paid parking, this would allow us to do so without having to actually purchase any physical equipment. So just hypothetical, if we were to ever charge at a city lot, we could do this by putting up signs, directing people to this app without having to pay for a pay station, which also those have maintenance fees and transaction use fees. So that is my presentation.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments from the council?
I just want to say that I was just in Santa Cruz last weekend and used the Park Mobile app to pay for my parking, and it was the easiest thing ever. It was super user-friendly, and I'm really just glad that Arcata is moving this way, because there's been a few times where I have parked and I had to park at a meter and been like, I don't have any change, what's going on? And especially, I think younger people, too, are a lot less likely to carry cash, especially change, and not have it on them. And so I think this will make it easier for everybody, less tickets probably for people, and also, I mean, easier for city, less collecting of coins, everything like that. So that's exciting. So this is good news.
Yes, the 45-cent transaction fee is a lot less expensive than the $40 citation. So.
And I like that we're adding options and still having the cash option too for people that want to do that. So sounds good.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. I used to live in Seattle for a couple years, and this was great. It was so nice. I think it's going to make user experience a lot better for people. So thanks.
Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this item? Come on up.
I just wanted to ask a question, and if I missed it, I apologize. I was just wondering, I know when I went back to HSU, I spent a lot of time wasting gas and polluting, looking for that open space. Will you be able to identify if there is a space? Is that something the app can do?
So the app does have a map feature. So it would direct you to meters that have not had paid parking through the app. However, that doesn't mean that someone paid through a coin. So yes-ish.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Next, we have other council and staff reports. Do we have a staff report this evening?
I just wanted to remind the community, this was brought up at an earlier comment at the beginning of the meeting, but we do have the Adopt a Park, Carlson Park rollout on Sunday from 12 to 6. Really hoping that people turn out to support the community and all the efforts that have been happening in the Valley West area. So 12 to 6, Carlson Park and Valley West.
Great. And do we have any council member reports? Do you want to go first, Sarah?
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Stacy?
No, I don't have anything to report.
Nothing to report, thanks.
I'll just report last Wednesday, I did a ride-along with the police department. Went really well. It's on a Wednesday night from about 6 to 1 in the morning. It's a fairly quiet evening. At one point, the officers had to deal with a DUI driver, and there were 3 officers on duty at the time, and at one point one officer had to take the DUI, I guess the suspect, to jail, and then she had a puppy in the back of her vehicle, so another officer had to take the puppy to a shelter, and then the 3rd officer had to wait for the tow truck to tow the suspect's vehicle. And so for a period of time there was nobody to cover any calls in the city, and I just, yeah, I think it's something we just need to keep an eye on, is making sure we're maintaining at least minimum staffing levels. I definitely support, looking at some of the alternative forms of policing and stuff that we're talking about. But I also think it's important that we at least maintain a base level. So yeah, this is my report. And dates of future meetings. The City Council Candidate Forum will be next Wednesday, July 28th at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.